somewhere on a farm right now. A tractor older than the farmer driving it is hauling grain into a bin, and it started on the first try. While brand new machines sit idle waiting on a dealer technician and a software update, these decades-old workhorses just keep going. No computers, no subscriptions, just iron, oil, and stubborn reliability. Today we're counting down 10 legendary old tractors that refuse to retire, and the surprising reasons farmers still trust them over anything modern. Number 10. The Ford 8N. Let's start with arguably the most influential small tractor ever built on American soil, the Ford 8N. Built by Ford between 1947 and 1952, the 8N was produced in staggering numbers. Ford produced 524,000 of them, with that original price tag sitting right around $1,400 back in 1952. By some measures, the 8N became the most popular farm tractor of all time in North America. So what made it special? It wasn't raw power. The 8N features a 4-cylinder engine with 120 cubic inches of displacement, producing roughly 23 belt horsepower with a maximum around 27. By today's standards, that's almost laughably small. But the genius of the 8N wasn't in its numbers, it was in the system it carried. The N series introduced something that changed farming forever. The earlier 9N was the first American-made production tractor to incorporate Harry Ferguson's 3-point hitch system, a design still used on most modern tractors today. The 8N refined that idea and put it into the hands of hundreds of thousands of small farmers. Here's why it still earns its keep nearly 80 years later. The 8N is mechanically simple. It has a straightforward carbureted gasoline engine and an open hydraulic system, which means a farmer with basic tools and a manual can fix almost anything that goes wrong. And critically, that 3-point hitch is still relevant. The tractor has a standard Category 1 3-point hitch compatible with all modern Category 1 implements. That means you can buy a brand new attachment today and bolt it onto a tractor built before the Korean War on hobby farms and small holdings across the country. The 8N still mows, tills, does light plowing, and runs blade work. It's compact, maneuverable, and cheap to keep alive. That's a machine earning its keep 3/4 of a century after it rolled off the line in Highland Park, Michigan. Number 9. The John Deere Model B. Next up is a tractor that helped define John Deere's identity for an entire generation, the John Deere Model B. Introduced in 1934, the Model B was designed to be affordable and versatile, making it a favorite among small to mid-sized farms. This was the Great Depression era, and Deere understood that farmers needed something they could actually afford that would still do real work. The Model B delivered exactly that. What gives the Model B its legendary staying power is its almost stubborn simplicity. Its simple design and reliable performance have made it a staple in the collections of tractor enthusiasts. But plenty of them never made it to a collection because they're still working. The classic John Deere 2-cylinder engine, often nicknamed the Johnny Popper for its distinctive sound, is a marvel of low-stress engineering. It runs at low RPM, has very few moving parts compared to a modern multi-cylinder engine, and is famously forgiving. When something does break, the parts are well documented and widely reproduced. This is the recurring theme you'll hear throughout this list. Maintenance costs for these vintage machines can be lower than modern equipment due to their simpler mechanics. And unlike today's high-tech tractors, older models can often be fixed with basic tools and readily available parts. For a small farm hauling a wagon, running a belt-driven implement, or doing light field work, a well-kept Model B from the 1930s or 40s will still show up and do the job, which is a remarkable thing to say about a machine pushing 90 years old. Number 8. The Farm All H. Now we move to one of the best-selling tractors of the entire mid-20th century, the Farm All H, built by International Harvester. The Farm All H earned its reputation honestly. Known for its powerful engine and adaptability, it could handle a variety of farm tasks, and its popularity stemmed from its ability to work effectively with multiple attachments, making it a versatile tool for farmers. This was the tractor that mechanized countless American family farms. The Farmall H is revered for its powerful engine and ease of operation, which made it a staple on American farms during the mid-20th century. But the real story is why it's still out there working today. Its continued use can be attributed to its effectiveness in a variety of agricultural tasks, from plowing to crop cultivation, especially useful on smaller farms where modern technology may not be economically feasible. That phrase, economically feasible, is the heart of this whole list. When you're farming 40 acres, you do not need a $300,000 machine with a satellite link and a touchscreen. You need something that starts, pulls a plow, and doesn't require a dealer visit to diagnose a sensor fault. The Farmall H fills that role beautifully. The H is also a tinkerer's dream. Its mechanical systems are exposed, logical, and repairable. There's a massive community of owners, an enormous supply of reproduction and salvage parts, and decades of accumulated knowledge about how to keep one running. A Farmall H isn't a museum piece for these folks. It's a tool, and it earns its keep every season. Number 7. The Farmall 560. This next entry has one of the most interesting comeback stories in tractor history. The Farmall 560. When International Harvester launched the 560 in 1958, they had a serious problem. The drivetrain for the Farmall 560 wasn't strong enough to handle its powerful engine when it launched in 1958, so the brand completely overhauled the machine's rear end in its second production year, with a comprehensive replacement program offered for those already working farm fields. Think about that for a moment. The engine was so strong, it was breaking the rest of the tractor. So International Harvester went back, redesigned the rear end, and even fixed the ones already out in farmers' fields. Those updated versions continued production until and here's the payoff. That redesign worked. The 560's big engine still turns over just fine and plays an important role in collectors' operations decades after its 1958 to 1963 production run. There's a real lesson buried in this story. The original flaw forced International Harvester to engineer a genuinely robust solution, and the corrected 560 became a tough, dependable machine. Bob Zashi, an International Harvester collector from Reynolds, Indiana, owns one of those updated versions, and his restored 560 showcases exactly that engineering resilience. While it's long retired from heavy field duty, the big engine still fires and contributes real work on his operation. A machine that survived its own growing pains and came out tougher. That's a tractor that earned respect, and it's still earning its keep. Number 6. The Farmall 656. Closely tied to the 560's story is the tractor International Harvester built to win back the trust it had lost. The Farmall 6. By the mid-1960s, IH had a reputation to repair. 2 years after the 560 ended production, International Harvester launched its Farmall 656 as an attempt to claw back the market share it had lost to John Deere due to mechanical failures of previous iterations, including the 560, and it succeeded. The 656 was well received. While its hydrostatic drive required persnickety upkeep, maintenance paid dividends, and over decades the 656 proved its worth as a reliable workhorse. This is one of those entries where we don't have to speculate about whether it's still working. There's a documented living example. Farmer Raleigh Moore's dependable Farmall 656 continues elevating grain after half a century of service in Juanita, Illinois. This workhorse represents International Harvester's successful comeback model from the mid-1960s, proving the value of its hydrostatic drive through decades of reliable operation. 50 years. That's the kind of service life that makes the math impossible to argue with. The 656's hydrostatic drive was the catch. It required careful persnickety upkeep, but for owners willing to maintain it properly, that maintenance literally paid dividends in decades of dependable work. The 656 represents something important about old iron, a machine that demands attention but rewards it generously. Take care of it, and it'll take care of your grain bin for half a century. That's earning its keep in the most literal sense. Number 5. The Allis-Chalmers 99. Let's give some love to a brand that doesn't always get the spotlight. Allis-Chalmers, and specifically the Allis-Chalmers. Allis-Chalmers was a serious competitor in the mid-20th century tractor market, building rugged, capable machines with their distinctive Persian orange paint. The 19 Horrid was one of their workhorse row crop tractors, and it has proven every bit as durable as its more famous green and red rivals. The evidence here is current and concrete. As farm broadcaster Max Armstrong documented in his Tractor Shed feature, there's a 5-decade-old Alice Chalmers 90 that's still at work in northern Illinois. 50 years of service, still in the field. That's the entire thesis of this video in one sentence. What makes the Alice Chalmers 900 worth highlighting specifically is that it represents the broader truth that this longevity wasn't unique to one or two famous brands. The engineering philosophy of the era, overbuilt iron, mechanical simplicity, serviceability designed in from the start, applied across the whole industry. Alice Chalmers built machines meant to last, and they did. As Max Armstrong put it about these old machines, they run hour after hour, day after day, week after week out there rumbling along and putting grain up into the bin. The 19 is a perfect example, an underdog by reputation, but a machine still earning its keep in the American heartland 5 decades on. Number 4. The John Deere 730 Diesel. Now we get to a machine with one of the best documented modern working stories on this entire list, the John Deere 730 Diesel. The 730 was the top of John Deere's 2-cylinder line before the company moved to its new generation multi-cylinder tractors. It was a big, heavy, torquey machine built for serious work, and it represents the absolute pinnacle of John Deere's legendary Johnny Popper 2-cylinder engineering. Here's the living proof. After more than 6 decades, Ohio farmer Paul Ralston's old John Deere 730 diesel might not see heavy use anymore, but it's as reliable as ever. What's it doing today? These days, the vintage tractor loads corn via Ralston's grain auger and occasionally regrades his driveway. It's a testament to the hardiness of yesterday's agricultural iron. But the most compelling part of the 730's story isn't nostalgia, it's economics. Ralston's now antiquated machine has returned its investment tenfold, with margins tight amid a difficult agricultural economy. The old John Deere visualizes a philosophy that's helped many American farmers weather past storms. That philosophy is worth stating plainly. Investing in the right modern technology can certainly increase profit, but when times are tough, leaning on rusted iron can save the farm. The reason is straightforward. Reducing farm machinery overhead expenses facilitates business flexibility, which lets farmers adapt in ever-evolving financial conditions. A tractor that's paid for itself 10 times over and still loads grain after 60+ years isn't just earning its keep. It's a financial strategy. Number 3. The John Deere 4020. We've arrived at what many consider the single most important tractor in John Deere's entire history, the John Deere 4020. The numbers tell the story. The 4020 was produced from 1964 to 1972, and it's significant for its great popularity. Over 104,000 units were built, making it the most popular tractor of its time. In fact, it's widely regarded as the most popular tractor ever produced by John Deere and perhaps any other tractor manufacturer in the United States. Why did it dominate so completely? Power and flexibility. The 4020 was produced with 3 engine options: diesel, petrol, and LPG. The 4020 diesel has a 6-cylinder engine tested at 84 drawbar and 91 PTO horsepower. Farmers weren't limited to a single fuel source, and that engine flexibility was one of the 4020's defining features. It also brought real innovation. It offered a number of improvements over the previous 40110, including more horsepower, heavier rear axles, and a differential lock. John Deere's synchro range transmission with 8 forward speeds was standard, with a power shift transmission optional, and it remains a genuine working machine today. The John Deere 4020, with its advanced hydraulics and powerful engine, was a game-changer when it debuted and remains in use due to its ability to perform heavy-duty tasks with precision. Produced from 1964 to 1972, it became the backbone of thousands of farms thanks to its reliability, strong 6-cylinder engine, and proven field performance. With around 95 horsepower on tap, a 4020 has enough muscle for real tillage, PTO work, and large acreage tasks. That's why these tractors are still bought, sold, and worked hard today, 6 decades after the first one rolled out. Number 2. The John Deere Model 40. For our number 2 spot, let's get personal. Because sometimes the best proof of a tractor's worth isn't a spec sheet, it's a single machine on a single farm. Meet the John Deere Model 40. One particular example, nicknamed Little Mo, tells the whole story. As documented by its owner, the tractor came with the farm and looked rough. The headlights didn't work, the seat cushion was shredded, the tires were old, the paint was chipped, parts of it were rusty. There were a few homemade repairs, and it had lost its 3-point hitch somewhere along the way. By every appearance, this was a dead machine. From its appearance, it was doubtful that the old tractor would even start, let alone run with consistency and reliability. And yet, despite its age, it was built in 1953. Little Mo has proven to be as reliable as can be. Despite her rustic appearance, Little Mo never hesitates to start. No fussing with the engine is required, and 9 times out of 10, she roars to life on the first try. That's the magic of these old machines, distilled into one example. A tractor built in 1953, looking like it belongs in a scrapyard, that fires up reliably and goes to work. No diagnostics, no error codes, no waiting on a part shipped from across the country. The Model 40 was a small utility tractor, part of John Deere's 2-cylinder lineage, and exactly the kind of simple, honest machine that small farms still lean on. Little Mo proves a profound point. With these tractors, condition and capability are two very different things. Rust on the outside means nothing if the iron underneath still does the job. Number 1. The John Deere 4440. And finally, our number 1. A machine that has achieved near mythical status among working farmers and ranchers. The John Deere 4440. The 4440 belongs to John Deere's legendary Iron Horses generation of the late 1970s and early 1980s, the tractors that defined a heavier, more powerful era of American farming. And here's what sets it apart for the top spot. It isn't just surviving as a semi-retired auger tractor or a collector's restoration. It's still serving as a primary working machine on real operations today. The evidence comes straight from the farming community itself. As one rancher described the reality of his region, many ranchers around here are still using John Deere 444s as their big tractor. Not their backup, not their nostalgia piece, their main tractor. Think about what that means. In an era of GPS-guided, computer-controlled, subscription-laden modern equipment, working ranchers are choosing a tractor from around 1980 as the cornerstone of their operation. And they're doing it deliberately. The reasoning connects to everything we've discussed. For an operation where, as that same rancher noted, machines are expected to last generations, the 4440 hits a perfect sweet spot. It has substantial power for serious work. It has the mechanical robustness of the pre-electronics era. And critically, it predates the complex computer systems that make modern tractors so expensive to diagnose and repair. That last point is the entire reason this whole movement exists. Farmers are turning to 40-year-old tractors because of their reliability and ease of maintenance. As reported by Reuters, modern tractors can be expensive to repair and maintain due to their complex computer systems. The 4440 is the ultimate expression of that philosophy, powerful enough to be a primary machine, simple enough to maintain yourself, and tough enough to last generations. That's why it tops our list. It doesn't just earn its keep. For many ranchers, it's the machine the entire operation depends on. If you enjoyed this countdown, let me know in the comments which classic tractor you'd add to the list and which one your family ran back in the day. Thanks for watching.